The sky over Greenville, New York, had begun to turn dusky blue by the time the evening crowd started to gather at the Glass Room, an elegant establishment nestled among the brick-lined streets of a town that rarely made headlines. The Glass Room wasn't the kind of place you wandered into by accident. Its tall windows gleamed under soft yellow lamplight, and the polished brass handle on its oak door hinted that the real world stopped the moment you stepped inside. Inside, the waitstaff moved like clockwork in white shirts and black aprons, folding napkins with geometric precision, refilling wine glasses with quiet grace. At the far end of the dining room, beneath a blown glass chandelier that looked like frozen fire, Sarah Whitmore was just finishing up plating a poached halibut for table 12. At 37, she had been working here for 6 years. She wasn't the fastest or flashiest of the staff, but she was solid, reliable in the way only someone who's seen dreams burned down could be. 12-hour shifts were her norm. Tips paid for the electric bill, the occasional dental visit, and most importantly, Emily's strengths. Every night, when the last guest lingered over espresso and Sarah slipped out through the staff door, Emily was always there, 14 years old, legs crossed on a wooden bench, hugging her weathered violin case like it was a piece of her soul. Emily's violin wasn't much to look at. The wood was faded, varnish worn thin on the edges, and the case handle had been replaced with duct tape. But to the girl, it wasn't about appearance. It was about lineage. It was the instrument that had once belonged to her mother, the same one that had been stuffed into a closet when life took a detour and never quite found its way back to the stage. Years ago, before Sarah was a waitress, before the bills and the regrets and the long walks home with aching feet, she had studied at the Manhattan School of Music. She'd shown promise, more than promise, according to her mentor, who said she played like her fingers were reading scripture. But promise didn't pay for diapers. And after an unexpected pregnancy, silence from the man she loved, and cold stares from her parents, Sarah packed up her dreams and moved back to Greenville. She never said much about those years. Emily only knew what she'd gathered from watching her mother sometimes pause near the closet door, or the way her fingers still reflexively curled like they were holding a bow. When she was 8, Emily found the old case by accident and handed it to her mom without a word. Sarah sat down, played one haunting melody from memory, and that was that. Lessons began not with books or scales, but with listening, night after night. And from that quiet rhythm, something bloomed. By 14, Emily could play Bach's double violin concerto by ear and improvise over Miles Davis. Music teachers in town whispered about prodigy potential, but Sarah declined every offer of public showcases. Not yet, she always said. Everything changed one Friday. Richard Ellison, billionaire financier and founder of Ellison Partners, was in town. Twice a year, he came to Greenville to meet with developers and scope out new investments. He always reserved the VIP dining room at the Glass Room, where his charisma dripped with the same condescension as his cologne. Tall, silver-haired, always in navy-tailored suits, Ellison wielded power like a rapier, light, graceful, but piercing. That night, Sarah was assigned to his table. She kept her eyes low, her steps measured. She'd served him before, knew his games. Ellison liked theater. Not drama, but theater, the kind where he played king and the rest were court jesters. Around 7:15, as Sarah was pouring a deep Bordeaux into his crystal glass, Ellison's gaze shifted beyond her to the lobby window. There, half hidden behind the curtain, stood Emily, violin case on her back, watching. Well, Ellison said, swirling his wine. Is that your daughter? Sarah nodded. And what's that she's carrying? A violin. His smile widened. How charming. Tell me, does she play, or is it just for show? She plays, Sarah said softly. Does she now? He chuckled. Anything besides the dog waltz? Laughter erupted around the table. Sarah's hand clenched around the bottle. Bring her in, Ellison said, flicking his fingers. Let's have a little private concert. I'll even sweeten the deal. He pulled a crisp $100 bill from his wallet and laid it on the table's edge like a bone tossed to a dog. Sarah opened her mouth to protest, but Emily had already stepped forward. I'll play, she said. She entered the room without hesitation, opened the case, and tightened the bow. The room hushed. Servers froze mid-step. A few patrons leaned over from the main dining area, curious. Ellison leaned back, smug. Let's begin. The first note was tentative, almost shy. But then came the second, and the third. And then the room changed. Emily was playing Meditation from Thais. The notes didn't just float. They grieved, longed, and soared. Her fingers danced, not with showmanship, but with reverence. It was a voice born of silence, shaped by restraint, and sharpened by love. Even the kitchen staff peeked out. Sarah stood frozen, her throat tight. She had taught Emily this piece, but the way her daughter interpreted it, those subtle pauses, the way she leaned into the swell, was wholly her own. When the final note trembled into silence, the room erupted. Except for one man in the back, who hadn't clapped yet. He wore a gray blazer and glasses, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed. When the applause died down, he approached Sarah. "Miss Whitmore," he said, extending a hand. "My name is Dr. Thomas Wren. I run the Wren Academy of Music in Boston. We need to talk about your daughter." Ellison's face froze. He didn't like losing control, especially not in public. "Well," he said, slowly regaining his grin. "Seems your girl has hidden talents." "Quite the surprise, Sarah." "She's not hiding," Sarah replied. "She's just been waiting." Over the next few days, everything moved fast. Dr. Wren emailed scholarship documents, housing info, curriculum samples. It was a full-ride tuition, room, board, medical insurance, even a stipend. No strings. No publicity. But Ellison wasn't done. He approached Sarah after a quiet dinner service. The restaurant was nearly empty. "Sarah," he began, tone polished. "I know you're cautious, but let me offer you something real. A new violin. Top-tier instructors. Media coaching. Solo bookings. I could build her career." "She's not for sale," Sarah said. He smiled. "Everyone's for sale. It's just a matter of price or timing." Emily had walked in mid-conversation. "We're not," she said. Calm. Unshaken. Later that night, Sarah sat at the kitchen table, looking at the Academy's website. Emily joined her, sipping tea. "Do you think I can do it?" the girl asked. Sarah hesitated. "I think you can. I just worry I won't be there." "You always will," Emily said. "Even if you're not." They packed slowly. A week later, Dr. Wren returned with a driver. The departure was set for 6 a.m. from Albany. Emily placed the violin gently on top of her suitcase. Sarah handed her a sealed envelope. "Open it on the way," she whispered. At the airport, Emily sat by the window, case in one hand, letter in the other. The plane waited, humming on the runway. She opened the letter. "Emily, if you're reading this, you're already on your way. I'm probably home, pretending to be okay. But I'm not. Not really. I'm scared. But not for you. For myself. Because letting you go is the hardest, most beautiful thing I've ever done. Music is your truth. Don't let anyone dim it. And if you ever lose your place, remember this. I'm always with you. Love. Mom." Tears rolled down Emily's face. She didn't wipe them away. The plane boarded. She walked forward. The Wren Academy sat on a quiet hill outside Boston. Red brick buildings surrounded by leafy paths. Grand pianos in nearly every room. Her dorm had creaky floors and an old radiator. Her roommate, Lily Chin, played piano like a wildfire. At first, Emily felt like a fraud. Everyone was better. Or so she thought. "You lack form," said Professor Vincent during her first lesson. "But you have something rarer intent." Emily practiced 6 hours a day. Sometimes 8. She cried. She doubted. And every time she wanted to give up, she thought of Sarah's words. "This is your truth." At the winter concert, 6 months later, she performed last. She wore a simple black dress. The new violin, a gift from the Academy, gleamed under the lights. But in her heart, it was still the old one that guided her fingers. She played a piece she composed herself. It began with the same lullaby Sarah had once hummed, transitioned into a storm of counterpoint, and ended in a soft return to the theme, wiser, sadder, triumphant. The audience stood. In Greenville, Sarah read about it in a music magazine. The headline read, "Emily Whitmore, the girl who silenced a room." Beneath it, "My first teacher was a waitress. Her name was Sarah." Sarah cried in the break room of the local library, where she now taught music once a week. A coworker asked if she was okay. She smiled. "Yeah, it's just joy." Ellison never came back to the glass room. His assistant quietly pulled his name from every press release. No mention of him. No credit. But in the halls of Wren Academy, and soon at concert stages across the country, the name Emily Whitmore began to mean something. Not because of fame, but because of honesty. Because of a note that once sounded in a quiet restaurant and changed everything. Sometimes, one evening really is enough. And sometimes, that old violin carries more than music, it carries legacy.